John Lusk here at Lusk Archery Adventures. Series testing, successful hunting. Today I'm going to be testing a new head by TruGlo called the Backflip. Now I previously tested this same head when it was marketed under NAP and it didn't perform very well. But I'm going to give it a retest because it's under this new label by TruGlo and see how it performs. And thanks to Chris Mulbier, a buddy of mine who donated this pack, we're able to put it to the test today. Chris, thank you so much. I really appreciate your generosity. And so for this test, I'm going to be using my process for 2024 testing. And for a detailed description of that, please watch the video that's just called 2024 Broadhead Test Process. And it'll explain all the ins and outs of all the testing that I do and the scoring and so forth. And I'm going to be using, for a compound bow, most of my shooting is with my new Elite Era. And then for the flight testing, I'm using a crossbow, the Killer Instinct SWAT X1, and I'm using all Bishop Archery arrows because, man, I love these things. I'm using the FOC King for most of the shooting, the Fat Eliminator when I shoot stuff into concrete because they can handle it, and then this GOAT, that's what it's called, the bolt is called the GOAT because it's just so awesome. So let's zoom on in here and check out this backflip and then put it to the test. Here's a good look at the backflip, and it's just a classic 3-blade over-the-top deploying mechanical. Let's start with the materials. First of all, the ferrule is machined out of a single chunk of grade 5 titanium, and then the blades are stainless steel, 0.031 inches thick, so pretty standard thickness to the blades. One thing of note is that this tip of the ferrule, which is again part of the ferrule machined out of that single chunk, is a really nice cut-on contact / chisel tip. Looks really impressive. And the blades, the edges of the tip, are cut in a different plane than the blades themselves. Okay, they cut in between the blades. So what that will do is it will not help penetration as much as if these edges of the tip aligned with the blades. That's going to aid in penetration. However, it will open up a bigger entrance hole. So the total cut of this tip is 0.42 inches of cut, and that's an additional cut to that caused by the blade. So in other words, you're cutting not just in these 3 blades, these 3 planes of the main blade, but you're cutting in 3 additional planes. So that's kind of interesting. I'm interested to see how that plays out. Now the blades are held in place by friction. There's no O-ring, there's no retention clip. And they are held very securely in that place. I will say it's not so easy just to pull one open. But you see it in the open position like that and see that these blades are fairly swept back. The total cut in the open position is 1.5 inches of cutting diameter of the main blades. But then again, you get this extra cut of the tip being in different planes. So the total cut is 2.67 inches. Okay, that's pretty impressive. In the closed position, it's just 5/8 of an inch. So I would imagine it's going to fly fairly well in addition to that. Now the overall length of the broadhead from the end of the arrow is 1.5 inches. So like many rear deploying mechanicals, you're going to get with the penetration quite a bit of extra penetration just from that tip and not the actual blades themselves. Now one thing of note, when I originally tested this head when it was put out by NAP, I couldn't really figure out the efficacy of these holes in the end of the blades there. They really prove to be a weak point. I'm interested to see if it will be a weak point in the testing here today as well. Now in terms of resharpening, what I would use for a head like this is I'd use the Stay Sharp Guide Gray Guide. I think it would work really well with resharpening this backflip. So really eager to put it to the test and see how it performs. The backflip got the bullseye. It took 253 grams of force to cut through the wire, which is a 9.47 on a 10-point scale. I know it's hard to see here, but it penetrated 8.5 inches. And I will note that that, of course, was aided by that 1.5 inch tip that doesn't include the blades. And I will note also that the blade's fully deployed by the time it hit the gel. It took an additional 45 grams of force to cut through the wire, which is a 9.1 on a 10-point scale. It penetrated through 50 layers, and I will note that was aided by that longer tip, not so much the blades cutting that medium. The head is in perfect condition after the 3 shots through the MDF. Here it is after the 2 shots into the steel plate, and on the first shot it lost a blade, and then the other 2 got bent, and on the second shot it lost all the blades, and the tip got pretty blunted there. Even on the first shot it was already pretty blunted. Second shot got a lot more blunted, and you can see the first hole there on the left. Okay, it's a decent entrance hole. On the second one you can see where the blades just gave out. Here's a good look at the backflip after going through all the durability tests, and it did really well through the MDF, and then through the steel plate it lost all of its blades. They broke at that little where that little hole is in the connection point. There's a little hole in the blades, and that seems to be the weak spot. But the ferrule is really strong, and it did well. I mean, even spins well after going through the concrete. So what'd you think? Man, it did a lot better than it did when I tested it under the NAP label. And I don't know if I had a bad batch that time or happened to get a good batch this time, or if TruGlo just has a better quality control. But the blades were much more durable this time than they were last time. Though there's still a weakness. That little circular cutout hole there proved to be a weakness in the steel plate. But other than that, they really performed decently. So I think if you're looking for an over-the-top deploying mechanical, that flies well, has a nice big cut, and relatively durable, this is something worthy of consideration. So stay tuned and check out the score sheet as well as the corresponding Lust grade. See if it might be a good fit for you. And also stay tuned for all the discount codes I can offer on various heads and other pieces of gear just to save you some money.